What up, Vigilantes? Welcome, Hotep Nation in the house. Hotep Jesus, thank you for being with us. Herman from LetsGo.Finance is also with us, and we're just going to get to know each other. How you guys doing?
Herman?
Doing good.
Cool.
I'm doing good. I also have Jerry Gensler here. Don't forget about him. SEC commissioner. He's going to make sure we're doing everything the right way. So no fuckery is allowed.
So for everyone watching, Brian, could you please explain what Hotep is, what Hotep Nation is? How did it come about?
Hotep is a response to the encroaching power of the liberal left, most specifically the Black liberal left. And it's a pejorative that was thrown our direction that we turned and exalted and made a term of honor. So they called me Hotep Jesus. It was an exonym. Now it's an endonym. And I go by the name Hotep Jesus. I did not choose this life. This life chose me.
Nice. So I remember there was a video of you in Starbucks where you went in asking for reparation coffee and they gave you reparation coffee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, if you wanted to ever break into the mainstream media as a Black person, you follow a liberal narrative, and voila, there I was on Fox News. Didn't expect to be on Fox News, but hey, it happens. But when you understand the matrix, it's funny what you can do and how you can manipulate this thing.
Right on. So let's talk about hacking the matrix. Hotep Nation has become, it took a life of its own now. You know, I don't think you even realize how much of an impact you have, because I even have my cousins talking about it. And sometimes I feel like God keeps us humble so that we don't know the reach of what we do, because, you know, he wants us to keep us going. So what has been your experience? Because, you know, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with my knowledge of what Hotepism is, and I'm familiar with Uncle Hotep as well. But now it's like this movement just grew, and the beautiful thing about it is that you guys really emphasize entrepreneurship, and you're a crypto entrepreneur yourself. What are you involved in crypto?
Yeah, well, obviously Coinbits, the Bitcoin purchasing app, and lately LetsGo has been the latest project I've worked on in the crypto space. But I mean, when you look at people and how people have interacted, you know, a millennia ago, a lot of this stuff comes down to commerce, markets, marketing, capitalism, resources, or capitale, as it is pronounced in Latin. So you start to understand that, you know, politics is secondary to money. You know, the money controls politics. So when you start understanding that, you're like, all right, well, maybe we need to focus on the money. You know, you don't want to be a poor, righteous teacher. So we focused on, you know, I mean, just personally myself, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had my own business, you know, starting as a teenager. So it's in me as an individual. The fact that it manifested in Hotep Nation is a great thing. We've helped a lot of people, quote unquote, pull themselves up by the bootstraps and become successful entrepreneurs and publish authors and run e-commerce businesses, and really get educated about life, educated about, you know, what it takes to become successful. I was speaking to Thaddeus Russell on one podcast, and Thaddeus said to me, they asked, what does Hotep mean? And Thaddeus volunteered to respond. And he summarized it into self-mastery. And that's really what it is. You know, like one of the things I always say is, you know, success isn't hard. Conquering your mind is, you know, conquering yourself is. Building that discipline is the hardest thing. Once you have the discipline, everything in life becomes quite easy. In fact, you just have to conquer those thoughts in your mind: fear, doubt, worry, excuses, procrastination, etc. But if you can ignore those things, or you know, like an email I sent out today, I have an emailer, and you know, in this emailer today, I was talking about a filter, a good bad filter, And basically you take things that could happen over the course of the day and decisions you have to make, and you ask yourself, is this good for me? If the answer is yes, then do it. If it's not, then don't do it. It's quite simple. Life can be so easy. The hard part is, can you actually discipline yourself to sit down and do that stuff? And, you got to do that stuff immediately. The longer you delay, the more you delay your blessings. And the more complacent you get over the course of the day. It's I try to start my day super early and with an intermediate workout routine, get my day going. And then everything seems to fall into place. If I don't do that, things fall out of place. But when you think of Hotep, it's the full mind, body, soul spectrum, and really just trying to master self.
Right on. So you've been working in crypto for a while, and you blew up with a debate you had between big blockers. It was a series of debate between big blockers and small blockers, which was really awesome that you gave a voice to everyone. I don't know if you know this, but at the Crypto Vigilante, we're a mix of all like big blockers and small blockers.
Okay.
But our main emphasis is privacy. So what was your experience doing those debates, and do you see yourself doing them again?
I think a lot of it comes down to, for the individuals, it seems that you would expect that math and science to be quite objective. And then you start getting around these tech geeks and you find out they're looking at the same exact thing and there's subjective opinions about it. So that point, it becomes hard to understand what's right and what's wrong. So during the debates, what I try to do is try to find the objective truths, the ones that the truths that both sides agree on. And I go, okay, all right, we can assume that one is definitely a fact. And then, go down the line. But if there was something that they disagreed on, it's like, okay, I'm going to need more data on this. Let me speak to, Cyprian or, AKA Vin Armani or Crypto Blood or one of the homies, Raider, and say, hey, explain this thing to me and try to give it to me, as objective as possible, because I know all those minds are going to give me super objective opinions. But that was a difficult part for me. I come from an IT background. So I know some people thought that I wouldn't be able to follow along in the conversation, but being that I come from an IT background, it wasn't hard at all. I'm not like that Gigamex guy. So, it wasn't hard to follow along. There's certain points in the conversation, obviously snoozers. I just wanted to fall asleep. I'm like, all right, this is like absolutely boring. Where other parts were really entertaining. But I have fun mediating. I think that's a skill of mine, is being a mediator of people. So I had to do that all throughout my life as a leader and a role player. And that was fun. I get to, the thing is, it's like you want to learn, right? You want to learn about a particular subject. And I was afforded this huge platform, partly by Joe Rogan. And it allows me to pick the minds of some of the smartest people on the planet. And I think that's a huge advantage over others, is the fact that I can sit down with two crypto guys, have them debate and be the mediator and really get to the bottom of the science. I think it's just a wonderful privilege that I have.
And speaking as an entrepreneur, I think it's very important to keep that dialogue open because, at the heart, we have all these protocols competing for each other. And at the end of the day, to me, I see it as kind of trite to pick teams, to pick sides, because I much rather sit back and let them compete for my business. All these protocols compete for my business. And that's why I like what LetsGo.Finance is all about, because, and that's why we had him at the TCV Summit, because, Herman started off with Binance, then is, opening up to Ethereum. And he's opening up to, hey, whatever protocol works best is for us entrepreneurs, that's where I'm going to go. And I don't know, are you familiar with like the privacy coin ecosystem, privacy protocol ecosystem?
No, I'm not.
So there's a new one that is about to come out based on Monero-like technology and an advancement known as homomorphic encryption, which allows you to have a smart contract platform that is private by default. So think of like what Monero is to Bitcoin, Darrow is to Ethereum, which is mind-blowing, bro, because now you're opening up to a world of entrepreneurship that is truly censorship resistant. It's a world of entrepreneurship where, you know, in Ethereum, we've always talked about how we're going to have the decentralized autonomous organization where you truly can't be autonomous when you are open to surveillance from blockchain analytics, right?
Right.
So building the right way for the sake with privacy and fungibility in mind, I think is very important, you know, given the state of the world, which I want to talk to you about. But Herman, how's that going with your, you know, I know you've been looking into Darrow. How's that going?
Let me unmute myself there. I've reached out to them, but you know, I really haven't connected our developers with them yet or anything like that. But it's something we should definitely look into once they're launched. We can definitely figure something out. We have some great devs on our end. As far as adding additional options, yeah, Ethereum, Polygon. We're looking at Solana. Some different. I mean, really, it's just a matter of, do we have the community to support all these options, right? So that's an objective, right? Is building our community. That's what Hotep, Wendio, some of these others that we're bringing on are really going to help out with, is making sure we can support all these options. But options are a beautiful thing. And I like what you said, you know, let them earn your business. Don't just give them your loyalty by default. And you know, we all have this tribalism towards a coin, or it's just like the whole point, it seems to be, with a lot of the tribal culture, is just to pump a token. And that is really dumb if you think about it. I get it, but you got to let them earn it first, not just, don't pump for the sake of pumping, like these some of these meme coins that you see. But yeah, we want to add all the options we can. We're adding the NFT options. The thing that we do that's different than what a lot of people do is, you know, we really are focused on donations. We're a donation hub. With our split interest system, we're the first to ever do that, where you can stake or deposit anything, any type of token. It could be a stable coin or a regular token, and actually split the APY, split the interest between you, the person, organization, the church to the charity, the artist. And that was the genesis of what we did. Now we've added one-time donations like GoFundMe. And now we're adding, we're adding social tokens, but now we're adding the NFTs. And for me, a lot of people are like, well, NFTs, why would I buy an NFT? It's not gonna be, you know, it's gonna crash in value at some point. And that very well might be true. But our approach with NFTs is, think of it like a donation. You know, you want to support Hotep. You want to support these different organizations. You want to donate to your church. You want to donate to whatever it is that you're into. You might as well, instead of getting an email saying thank you, you might as well get a JPEG that could have value in the future. And the fact that is contributing to the person or an artist that you support inherently gives it value. As a donation tool, it is backed by something. It's backed by the person that you're supporting. So I don't think a lot of this is registered with people in NFTs, and a lot of that's because there's so many crap projects, terrible projects that have done really well that have given it kind of a weird name. But we're trying to bring in legitimate influencers, legitimate you know, communities that people would support anyways. Might as well do it through an NFT. It's beautiful too, because every time it sells, you know, money can go back to the creator. You know, it's all contracts. It's like people, we're trying to break that through. The thing is, it's like education. I don't like to drop names, but I talked to InfoWars this morning, right? I talked to those guys and, you know, explaining things to them, and they're definitely into it, but there's a learning curve, right? They have to
definitely buy the male vitality NFT if it ever comes out, you know.
I mean, the gay frogs might be around the corner.
Oh,
the gay
dude.
frog
That one is gonna blow up. Actually, I know of someone that is going with that, and they're doing something special with it. And if he doesn't hurry up, someone else is gonna beat him. Look, you're already talking about it, so yeah.
I mean, John McNaughton is another guy. He's got that. He's like probably the most famous artist in the conservative space, I guess you would call it. You'd definitely recognize his paintings if you don't recognize his name. He's gonna mint exclusively with us. And I look at the price of his paintings. I'm like, dude, you're giving those away. because people are selling pet rocks for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you just created a masterpiece and you're selling it for like $3,000, you know? So the way that, he can fractionalize his paintings, he can digitize it, we can animate it. There's all sorts of things. And the beautiful thing is that we built this influencer network, and we're building this influencer network where we can put multiple people on the contract. So every time it sells, Hotep get a piece. Whoever we're synced up with could get a piece of the revenue as essentially affiliates, even though they're they're considered owners on the contract, and we can determine what their split's going to be. So you have this built-in marketing every time you drop a new piece of art. Dude, crypto's amazing. And people are going to start understanding this at some point. I mean, a lot of people do, but the normies don't get it at all. That's one thing I realized when we launched this project. I was like, okay, Web3, this is going to be awesome. And I explained it to people and big names, and they're like, that sounds pretty cool. I don't get it. That's pretty much. So then I have to backtrack and educate people. It's all about education. And that's something that you do a great job on your channel, is educating people, letting them understand. And I think, you're into privacy and the privacy tokens, the privacy networks that are being developed. And a lot of that requires education too. Just like, why do you need privacy? Like the whole concept of privacy is lost on a lot of people. So
here, I want to ask you some questions, guys. I want to get this conversation. I want to turn this a little juicy. Can we turn this up? Because let's turn it up, because I love that you both are capitalists 100%. And you both are, and for everyone that's watching, these guys are marketing geniuses. Okay. So let's get real, because our job as analysts at the Crypto Vigilante is to be as objective as possible. And as much as we might champion a product today, we will, if they ever fuck up, we're going to be the first ones to call them out. So people might love the Crypto Vigilante today, but tomorrow, if that project fucks up, we're going to call them out. So the reason why we started this kind of like approach of opening up, because to be honest, we've been skeptical of a lot of smart contract platforms for many reasons, but we're opening this up because dialogue is very important. It's extremely important for everyone to communicate and to share ideas. So on the topic of privacy, you guys are both marketers, world-class marketers. I want to know your perspective. Does privacy matter? Do you see privacy catching on? Are we just spinning our wheels, and are we inevitably moving into an Orwellian nightmare and there's nothing that we can do to stop it? Or what's your take? I want to hear you guys' take on, does privacy matter, and will it actually catch up? Do people actually care about privacy?
For the normies usually, they're like, oh, well, they already know my credit card transactions. So the normie's willing to give up their privacy, in exchange, allegedly, for safety. At least that's how they sell it, right? I think privacy is very important, especially when we're dealing with financial transactions. I always educate people on the fact that Bitcoin is a public ledger, which, when people talk about using it as a reserve currency, I thought that it would make sense to put the Federal Reserve on Bitcoin, so that we can track the Federal Reserve's transactions.
There you exactly 100%. We call it a transparent surveillance coin is what we call everything that comes from the Bitcoin protocol.
Yeah. So it's about, who gets privacy? Is the private individual get privacy? Or is it that the large institutions, corporations, and organizational functions all maintain privacy? For example, we saw an example of what I would call insider trading, where they said, 200 plus Congress members were holding, these stocks that were all winning or something like that. I forget what the headline read, but, why are those individuals' names held private, right? So it's like privacy for who? But they can spy on our bank accounts up to $600, as low as $600, right?
Right on.
So, it's just a whole, privacy for who issue. I think what's going to happen is that, and I talked about this before, where society is just going to become bifurcated. You're going to have a mainstream, you're going to have an underground, and the underground is going to need to be extremely technologically savvy. to jailbreak phones, operate cryptocurrency, operate crypto communications, so on and so forth. But privacy is going to become very huge in the next few years. You know, the systems are going to be mainstream and underground. And obviously, you're going to have some people going to be hybrid who will be able to hop between the two worlds. It's sort of like that today, where you have some people believe one thing, act another way. So they may vote for Trump, but their friends and family and coworkers wouldn't know. Right. So they're able to they're still afforded the benefits of the mainstream life. But in the future, it's going to be much more stringent about what you can and cannot do, which means that in order to live a life of autonomy and privacy and freedom, you need to be tech savvy to take advantage of all the crypto products that will exist in the future, such as crypto, channels of communication, and obviously cryptocurrency.
Do you foresee a lot of oppression in the future for people that don't abide by the party line, the Communist Party line, the globalist party line?
Oh, I wrote a book called The Patriot Report. I'm asking the conspiracy of money and war. So I've seen oppression going back since 1786, the installment of the Bank of North America by 1782 by Robert Morris. Rothbard accused the guy of practically embezzling money and stealing money from practically Congress, borrowed money from France. And we're talking about hard assets. We're not talking about fiat currencies. He was stealing, hard gold and silver. So when people talk about oppression, I'm like, when hasn't oppression existed on this landmass called the United States of America?
Right. 100%. But again, like we're moving into what I find a technocratic system of slavery that we've never experienced before. And I know you're very, aware of this. Like, well, where do you see us going? What would you say are the steps for people to take to really fight back against this machine?
Education, first and foremost. You have to divest from participation. I think it starts with the intellectual class. The intellectual class has wholly been misleading the hoi polloi or the rank and file. The politicians understand that the intermediary between them are the intellectual class, or I would call them the grifter class. So this intellectual class really, some people would call them influencers. I would call them enforcers and non-influencers at all. Really what they do is they just enforce a particular set of beliefs, which we dwindle down to talking points. And that's what these people really do, is they just repeat talking points to score points with the base. It's not really about what's best for the base. It's really about what's best for the individual at the intellectual level, and telling the base whatever it is that they want to hear, and avoiding everything that the base does not want to hear, even if it's something that the base needs to hear. And also the base then suffers from cases of cognitive dissonance, not being able to handle the truth. And that's something that they have to work on themselves. But, they never, few people like to face the man in the mirror. But when the rank and file can look at the mirror and say, hey, here's where we went wrong ourselves, here's where we can correct ourselves, they can then look to the intellectual class and say, well, who's the people telling us these things? And these are the people that can really lead us. We don't want somebody coming to the forefront just pandering to our beliefs and following the talking points. We want somebody that's actually going to bring about real change. And that's a catalyst for I guess, a turning point.
So you kind of described the way I have always seen you, Hotep. You've always been like a thorn on the establishment side. You've been able to like tap into like memetic warfare in a very refined way, the way you just like surgically just get them where like it fucks their mind. Like you mind fuck people, bro. And I love that about you. And everybody that's like, yeah, Hotep. And that's like rediscovering like Marcus Garvey and things that you guys champion. That is very, that really shakes up the matrix. So my question is like, how can we do that with crypto? How can we step up the game in memetic warfare? Because it seems like this is what's starting to happen with things like LetsGo.Finance.
I think it's a little bit too much memetic warfare and not enough legal warfare happening. It's motivation for another book I'm writing on case law. But I think that the memetic warfare has to support a really good call to action, something that's actually going to make change. If there's particular bills being passed, call to action, repeal such and such, call your senator. These are all great things. Yeah, I think if it's not, for example, we talk about mandates, right? Where's the call to action? In which court venue is this really happening in? Identifying that and then applying the memetics to that makes sense. But I think, the United States is based upon contract law. We have this thing called the Constitution. So we're dealing with contract law. And I think if anybody wants to have any exemption from some of the laws, you have to do it through the court system. And I think many individuals do sidestep the matrix via the court system. It's just not talked about as much as some of the higher profile cases like, I don't know, Bill Cosby or Epstein, right? So, again, it comes back to people educating themselves on, what case law to cite when they go to court, dealing with mandates, 2A, 1A, etc.
I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people in the crypto world, they want to kind of live as if government law doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like I've spoken to a lot of people on both sides of the Bitcoin civil wars, and love them or hate them, Craig Wright is making everybody, oh shit, there's this thing called government that it's not going anywhere. Whether on whatever side you're on, you need to realize that, hey, that's there. And unless we're creating a completely alternative legal system, which is what I believe cryptographic law or Lex Cryptographia will be in the future, which is I see like Darrow as a very possible foundation for us to start building on. We're still going to have to deal with government as it is and government law as it is. So you hit the nail on the head, because a lot of people tend to like, oh, we don't need to worry about that. No, dude, you're going to have to worry about it whether you like it or not. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like on the topic of privacy real quick, during your debates with people, I'm just going to give you my personal perspective on like Bitcoin history. I break it down into 4 camps, real simple. Those that said, we want to use Bitcoin, and we see that Bitcoin's original design is for it to be truly digital gold, true digital cash. In order to have that, you need to be private by default at the protocol level. So they're like, we can't do it with Bitcoin. We got to start from scratch. Here comes Monero, right? Fungible by default, where literally code is law, right? That's the beginning of that. Other people were like, actually, no, we can actually work with Bitcoin as is and as it was given to us, and start moving Bitcoin into a more private setting. And that is Bitcoin Cash and BTC, both different perspectives. But then there was another camp which said, there's nothing wrong with Bitcoin. Bitcoin was never supposed to be a privacy coin. Bitcoin's supposed to be not just money, but also the new internet. And that's BSV, right? Hotep, you're going to laugh, dude. I don't know if you know this about me, but I tend to side with that crowd. And I'm a privacy enthusiast. And the reason why is because I see them as the 2 extremes of like Bitcoin history, right? Monero on one end, which said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. We're going to start from scratch, right? And I think people from Bitcoin Cash and BTC agree. Logically, they say, yeah, Monero makes sense. But then there's the other crowd which said, no. Bitcoin's supposed to never be a privacy coin. It's supposed to be a ledger, like you said, to keep the assholes that shouldn't be accountable. Like you said, the Federal Reserve, governments, anything in public accountable. So we have these 2 extremes. And I'm just throwing out my ideas out there. I want to see what you think about this perspective. It is wild to me how the two most persecuted things in crypto are Bitcoin's original design at scale, BSV, and on one hand, regardless of what you think of Craig Wright, it's just, does the technology work or it doesn't? Does it not? And privacy coins, where we're now, in my interview with Howard Shu, the creator of Random X, and a lot of people in the Monero community are saying there's more likely price suppression of Monero. There's something happening with Monero because everyone in crypto, if they might love one coin, but everyone says, but Monero's freaking awesome, right? Like everyone has that in the back of the line. It's like, Monero is awesome. Privacy is cool. So even if your favorite coin is not Monero, Monero for the vast majority of people is like their second favorite. So even if you were to do like some sort of preferential voting, Monero should be evaluated at much higher price. So that's kind of my soapbox. I threw out a bunch of ideas. What are your thoughts?
I mean, people always want to talk about, what Bitcoin was supposed to do and Bitcoin is, and well, Bitcoin was supposed to do that. It would have been that.
True.
Right? So what people need to just be honest is this is our vision. Stop saying this is Satoshi's vision. Say this is our vision, and this is our version of cryptocurrency. I also don't think you can decouple Craig Wright being unable to prove that he's Satoshi, yet claiming to be Satoshi. So I can't trust anything that he's backing, and I can't trust the promises. Now you say the technology is working, working as far as what? You said the BSV project is working. When you technology working as far as what is it doing that's working?
The idea is that we're using the Bitcoin miners as the back end of our businesses, right? And that's kind of like a mindset.
Why do you need that?
In order to compete with big tech.
Why does it have to be on a blockchain?
Because that's the only way for proof of work to protect big data. So big data, the only thing that big tech cannot do is protect the data via proof of work. So if we're able to do it on a blockchain, then we own our data, right? So it flips a script on what big tech is doing.
Well,
even though it's still,
let's say you buy, the setup and you get everything done through SQL, they can't come shut you down. You've installed the software on your local machine, or if you did it with Python, you can still access the database. And you would still own that, right?
Yeah, you would, but there's not
I don't get.
So
one second, also you're talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta bring my computer charger. 1 second, please. 1 second. But yeah, I can still talk to you. 1 second. So the main thing is that you're able to calibrate in real time with the market. Like in real time, you can calibrate with the market for what you need for your servers. That's the main thing of proof of work, that you get an automatic feedback from the market, what you need in real time to upgrade your system. And in order to do that properly, you need to have a proof of work mechanism where you're not just storing data, but you're competing with other people in trying to do it better than you, and where you're cooperating at the same time. So it's a different understanding of how the network effect changes. See, the network effect changes the way the economic incentives are aligned. You feel me? Because a lot of people just want to say, well,
it's only going to manage what it needs. Right?
Exactly.
It's more capitalist and socialist. I get what you're trying to say.
Right.
It's going to scale. It's going to scale based upon the needs of the network. I totally get that. So my question is, what problems has it solved today? I mean,
that's the thing.
It solves a philosophical problem, but it's not solving a technical problem.
So this is how I see it from my perspective, right? The first crypto civil war
what was the coolest project on BSV?
Right now, gosh, dude. Definitely Twitch is leading in insofar as
so they have
network effect. But then Crypto Fights is awesome. What's happening with Crypto Fights?
What's Crypto Fights?
So
That sounds
crypto
interesting.
fights.
Tell me about this crypto fights.
So crypto fights is a game where you fight with other people. You go on missions, and everything is done via nano transactions. So you get paid for playing in real time. Okay, but does that in itself, is that like something that's like a pink elephant in the market? No, because there's other people that are attempting this with other networks. So has there been a killer app that shows how you can do something completely different with BSV that you can't do elsewhere? No, there hasn't been. All there's been is kind of like with Twitch and crypto fights, like MVPs showing, hey, this is what the internet can offer, but this is what we can do with BSV, where every data packet is a tiny nano transaction that is sent and stored on this new infrastructure of Bitcoin miners. So
a whole bunch of gig shit nobody cares about.
Hey, if it's something that the market will,
y'all make yourselves the new 1%. That's the problem with the crypto people. They make themselves the new 1% because you're intellectually advanced in this particular area. Meanwhile, you're trying to figure out how to onboard the normal person, and they don't know how to even get to the MetaMask wallet, right? So it's like
100%. I agree with you.
It's like my thing is everybody's boasting about their version of Bitcoin, but meanwhile they have no projects that can say, hey, look, if you had a project, you wouldn't have to sell it, you wouldn't have to shill your coin.
100%. I agree with you, and that's the reason why I think it's so important to bridge that gap between the intellectual 1% that you just mentioned, right? And that goes for privacy projects as well, because at the Crypto Vigilante, first and foremost, we love Monero, we love privacy projects, and the end user that doesn't even, like you said, we need education. So that's why it's so important to have these conversations with people that understand marketing, with artists that understand how to actually reach people, because it's not enough just to be in our own echo chambers talking about what could be possible and what is possible with technology,
Yeah.
So I agree with you. It's almost like we need to come back down to earth. And it's so easy to get caught up to talking about the tech stuff that we forget that the layman, the people that will be using these technologies, they need to be reached out to. And so how do we go about doing that, Hotep? Help us out.
First step is to take your head out your ass. Second step is remove the heart from it all. Everybody cares about these projects. Everybody's fighting over these projects. What people need to do is they need to talk about the real problems that people are having and go tackle those real problems. It's like people they've essentially cloned the internet, right? It's like, oh, we have the blockchain version of this app, we have the blockchain version of YouTube, we have the blockchain. It's like, all right, cool, somebody had to do it, right? I guess. But it's like, are you really going to get mass adoption like that? You're going to hit a ceiling really fast. If you do even have some sort of a great adoption, but you're not going to get mass appeal unless you solve a real problem. It says people tells people, hey, I need this in my life because it's going to make my life easier.
So I have a problem, Hotep, and I'm pretty sure you've come across this problem as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people are incapable of getting their head out of their asses. And I think a lot of them is because they're engineers that think very, they're autistic. They have Asperger's, they're people that just can't think the way you and Herman do. You guys understand people, you guys understand. And the reality is a lot of these, it's almost like, I know you and Herman are like, like autistic whisperers, you know what I'm saying? Because you guys have to bridge that gap between the business world and the tech world. So how do you become that Rosetta Stone as an entrepreneur between the tech world of the geeky people that actually, in my opinion, for some reason, they just can't get, quote unquote, their head out of their ass because they're so focused on the engineering part of these things. And then there's the world, right? And how you engage the world and people. How do you become that Rosetta Stone? Because I know you and Herman have been, and this question goes to both of you. What advice would you give to someone that wants to be an entrepreneur in crypto, but how can they become that Rosetta Stone?
I mean, not all engineers think like that, first of all. So you work with the engineers that don't have their head up their ass, that get it. Sometimes that happens through experience. And then the ones that see who's having successful projects will learn to get their head out their ass because they're getting lapped and left behind.
Yeah, it's almost, but there's an issue that I keep seeing over and over again, and it's that of a sunk cost, right? And people keep investing in things. I see this a lot with engineers, right? That they keep focusing, and it has to work, and it has to work, and the market is showing them, dude, it's not working. What do you say to that?
I say nothing. I believe let them kill themselves over that project. You know, life is the best teacher. I mean, Steve Jobs spoke about this in one of his lectures, and he said, put the user first. Listen to the user's wants and desires and build your project around that. Anybody who doesn't follow that mantra or follow that rule, essentially just going to waste their time, especially in the software world where changes can be made rather rapidly as opposed to, you know, consumer packaged goods. So you're actually at an advantage by being in tech, being able to respond to the wants and needs of the market as, you know, fast and nimble and flexible. But that's the key to all of this, you know. Like when you look at the Let's Go project, right? It's like, okay, yeah, I can give you my money, or I can stake it on an influencer, and we both increase our wealth, right? Like that right there solves a problem where people are like, well, I don't have the money to give. Well, now you're incentivized to just stake it on the platform, and we both win. You know, it's a huge problem solved, right? And that's why I like the project, because you know, it's unique. But if you're not building anything that's solving any real problems, or is not unique in the market, you're just wasting your time.
Right on. Herman, what are your thoughts about this? For, you know, your experience as an entrepreneur with Let's Go and everything else you've been involved in.
Oh yeah, as far as communicating with autists, it's good to have somebody on the team that's in both worlds, you know, that is a developer but also has social skills, and you talk to them and then they talk to the developers, you know. They're kind of the whisperers, you know, and they can help bridge that gap. If you can't do that yourself, that would be my recommendation. Find that person that can. And Hotep's right. There are people that can do both. There's definitely people out there that can do both. That's not always the most common, because a lot of the times the best developers are just super autistic. It's just how it is.
Could you please explain the need in the market that Hotep just alluded to, that LetsGo.Finance is fulfilling? Can you please explain it a little bit to the audience?
Yeah. So essentially, what you do is we call it staking. It's yield farming, but you essentially deposit money on a lending and borrowing platform, and you do it through us. And then the interest that comes off of doing that will get paid out to both you and the person or community or that you're staking on, that you've deposited the money on. When you're done depositing, whenever you want to be done depositing the money or staking the money, you remove it and you get 100% of the funds back, plus all the money that you've been making, which is on a continuous basis. We replicate Patreon in the fact that when you stake on somebody, you can actually get access to the paywall, like a blog, if you want. If that's something you're interested in, you don't have to do that, but that's an option that's out there. That was the genesis of the project, because people were creating these Patreon competitors, but all they were doing is creating their own little world of credit card users, just the same thing that Patreon did. I think Patreon does a great job. I have no issue with Patreon. The problem with Patreon is they only accept credit cards. That's the whole problem. And PayPal, right? And like PayPal is partnered with the ADL. These are terrible organizations as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, we have to step outside that and become, you know, decentralized. And we've done that in a big way. So that is what that's all about. But you know, we're all making these like compromises along the way. I mean, you guys were talking earlier, since I haven't talked in a while, you guys were talking earlier about how influencers, I guess, if you want to call them that, are sort of just being soldiers for a certain cause rather than like speaking truth. And I see, like, let's just say like conservative Twitter or Republican Twitter, it's essentially like Fox News light. And sometimes I get pissed at the people that are still on Twitter, because it's like, you guys are just a bunch of sellouts, you kind of suck. You know, all the good people are gone, and those thoughts go through my head. But at the same time, they're also the survivors, and they're playing the survival game, and they also have to feed themselves and attain power. And I understand all these dynamics at play. It's like nobody can really help the situation they're in. Hotep is unique, right? Hotep has built a brand rather than just a specific narrative to pound, where the narrative is dependent on fitting within a certain box. He can kind of play outside that box. Most people aren't capable of doing that. So like getting mad at certain influencers for being sellouts, really, they're just not very imaginative or very talented or very intelligent. So they're kind of locked into this narrative at play, because then they're included in the group, and they're able to be Fox News light and get invited to the events by the organizations that we're all pretty familiar with. So a lot of that's going on right now. I think the solution is these decentralized platforms, Web3, just different options that are out there. I mean, I talked to people that have been banned literally on every platform this morning, and they said, you know, like, yeah, I mean, we could sign up for a Gab account, we can sign up for this account, that account, but it really is like, what's the benefit to us? You know, they have their own audience.
Right.
And,
Until they get kicked out of Twitter.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, they've been kicked out, and the whole thing about Twitter is great because you can go up against the mainstream. You know, if you're on another platform where you can't go up against the mainstream, you know, that's why I say LetsGo is a free money platform. You know, the purpose is to make money. That is, you can build infrastructure off the money that you're making. You know, all these, okay, you're on Twitter and you're talking, right? It's already been reduced to, you can't even talk to you can't speak to any type of truth, you know, not your truth, not anybody's truth. What is the point, actually? Like, what is the purpose? So, I mean, LetsGo is like, you know, yeah, we love free speech, but, you know, we love money, because money, you know, can help in all sorts of ways, where these other like free speech platforms are great, but you're kind of speaking to just, I don't know, speaking to the choir. So it's a terrible situation. Like, you think back to the glory days of like 2015, right? I mean, Facebook used to be fun. Twitter was awesome.
Yep.
Like, these platforms, like, something was happening. You know, there was truth getting out there. We were disrupted. Dude, there was like the top 500 pages on Facebook, probably 1,000. We're all getting a greater reach than CNN and NBC combined on not even a competition. And now they'll like point out like Daily Wire is a top 10 page, and they get as many views as CNN. It's like, dude, there used to be like 1,000 pages that got more views than CNN. That's what it's been reduced to. It's like, it's Fox News Light. It's all, if you fall within Fox News Light, you get to survive, you get a big paycheck, and then everybody else is just kind of bitter about it. I think it all sucks, honestly. It's so boring. You know,
yeah, it is.
We have Hotep, we have a couple others that are doing a good job, and we have crypto. I think crypto is fun, right? Because everyone's making money and they're having fun. But that is nihilistic and boring to me too. I mean, the whole pet rock scene, all the stuff that's going on with that, it's nobody's really speaking any type of truth other than, hey, you know, we don't like taxes. Hey, I love that. I like ripping on Janet Yellen too, right there. Please, you know, don't tax me. Don't tax me, bro. But, you know, that's just the scene. You know, pre-Trump, things are awesome. Post-Trump, things are terrible.
I mean, I honestly, like, we got the best dude on the call right now. Hotep, how do you hack this, man? Like, you are able to like poke the bear and just dance around it. How do you game it, man? Because it's almost like I see everybody getting deplatformed, but you're just there, like, boom, you know exactly how to navigate that situation.
Yeah, you got to be slick, man. I never been one to attack the beast though. I sort of stand next to the beast and observe it. And when the beast eats, it leaves waste, and that waste is for me to devour. this system that exists today is not unique, and it's not new. That's why it's so important people read my book, The Patriot Report. The system is quite old. And if this system didn't exist, it'd be some other system quite similar to it, where there was a group of people in control. They would just look different, maybe wear different clothes or something, but there would be some system of structure, power structure involved, right?
Right.
And I think the one that we're under right now is just about intellectual versus non-intellectual, people who actually want to learn versus people who don't want to learn. If you want to learn, there's loopholes in the system. If you don't want to learn, you'll be oppressed by the system. But when people fall for things like the algorithm, machine learning, picking up keywords, like you know what you're supposed to say, what you can't say, and I don't even get mad at the platforms for banning people. I'm just like, this is their platform. This is how they choose to rule their domain. You come and you can benefit from the work they put in to make these platforms great. People put a lot of work in to make YouTube great, to make Google great, to make Twitter great. And you can complain about it, but you ain't going to win that fight. And even if you do win that fight, you're going to get legislation that's passed that's going to work against you anyway. So, I play within the boundaries of the system. I understand how the system works. And if they don't want you to talk about something, I don't have to talk about it. Or I can talk about it in a very cryptographic way where only my people understand what I'm saying, right? And that's the only people I'm really trying to get through to. I'm not really trying to red pill, somebody that's on the extreme left or normies or anything like that. But I'm definitely trying to provoke the mind of the person that hasn't made the decision yet, the silent majority. Definitely trying to intrigue that mind. But other than that, getting suspended, people are like, "Oh my God, Hotep, how come you haven't gotten suspended?" It's like, because I follow the rules. Like, it's not that hard. They don't want you to say something. I've gotten strikes on my YouTube before, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess I can't do that anymore." All right, no problem. But it's when you're in somebody's house, you follow their rules. So I don't complain about it. I just say, if you don't like it, go build your own.
Right. So, okay. The big question here, Hotep, because I know a lot of people they look up to you, man. And I'm not gonna lie, man. I even looked up to you as well. I love the fucking work you're doing, man. Thank you so much. The thing is, and I know this is a loaded question, man. What's the path forward? You're talking to a crypto audience that for the most part is all about privacy. What's the path forward? Where are we going? How do we go there?
Intellectualism is a path forward, but intellectual has to be balanced with an humble ego. Intellectual with an inflated ego is going to lead you into a very dark forest. See, it's going to lead you into a forest that was created by your own mind, a dark forest that was created by your own mind, and you'll be lost. It's almost like Inception, when you just get lost inside your own mind. You start to build an environment which is actually an illusion, and you become detached from reality. When you have humility and you're able to tame the ego, so to speak, you can keep a cool sense of reality around you and move much more flexibly. That's a key to myself is, I believe in intellectualism and I study. I always boost my knowledge, but I also taper my ego. I try to stay humble. So you have to find that tender balance between humility and confidence, and because otherwise you just have this inflated ego which just paints this fake world around you, and you think you're the shit when really you're not.
That's true. I love how I asked you a question that I was expecting like a macro answer of like, how do we move forward? What are we doing? You just brought it back to like the personal, the spiritual,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the entire group is made up of individuals, only as strong as the individuals. So every individual got to focus on himself and make himself right and exact. And then the group tends to take care of itself. If everybody seeks objective truth we'll all win. There's everybody seeking subjective truth, and that's the problem. They want to just seek truth that affirms their biases. They don't want to, for example, when I told people about the dangers of these concoctions, these experimental medical concoctions, pre-pandemic, everybody called me an anti-veer, and this is from the right and the left. So I was like, all right. And now all of a sudden, everybody is on the same side as me that I was on, years ago. But why is it that nobody was able to see that? Is because they were conditioned to think a certain way about these medical concoctions. And now that they've gotten a little bit of education following the mandates, now all of a sudden, oh, well, maybe these medical concoctions aren't exactly so great. But again, had they tapered their ego and been able to look at objective truths, then or look at truth subjectively, then we wouldn't, we could have steered this ship a little bit better as we navigated through this pandemic. But yeah, the way forward is definitely through intellectualism and humility.
Thank you so much. Herman, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I like Hotep's answer. Don't make me try to top that answer, man. Like, ask me first. Let me deliver my. No. So what I've done is I've switched business models several times to try to adapt with the times. I've been flexible, in a practical way, because I have to support my family and put food on the table. And I've been working in media and with different personalities that tend to get in trouble. So I've just been flexible in my skill sets, and try to survive in that way and thrive. So I would recommend people do that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because that basket could get squashed in an instant, and really try to diversify what you're able to do and what you're able to bring to the world. And I see these people that they'll get banned from YouTube, and some people will cry, like literally cry publicly on Twitter about losing their YouTube channel, and they'll beg YouTube to get their YouTube channel back. And then I'll see other people that are like, I got banned from YouTube, moving on. We'll see if they let me back on. And it's like, I understand the guy that cries and gets upset, but we have to kind of be ready for it, be a little bit stronger than that, because as much as you can try to operate within their structure, they can still just ban you. And that happens all the time. So the ones that have survived, Jack Posobiec, right? Like, he's got a huge Twitter following. That dude could have been banned. I mean, he's done things in the past. He legitimately could have gotten banned. It could not have been his fault. Now he's got this huge platform and a lot of power to operate through that. But there's others that are around there. You're like, how are they still around? Well, it doesn't matter how they're around. They're around, and they have operated within a certain structure, but they could get gone. So everybody just has to diversify as far as surviving and moving forward on an individual level. On the collective, yeah, I don't have any good answers for that either. I mean, the political system, I've worked with campaigns. I've worked with winning campaigns on the congressional level. It's a joke. It's a total joke. They're not writing their own tweets. They're not reading the bills that they're passing. They all enter an existing power structure. Instead of trying to build their own empires around them, they just get absorbed by the system, because that's what they do in order to get the donor money that they want and to get invited to certain parties. And really to get on the committees too. The committees is a big deal that people don't understand in politics. If you don't play the game, you don't get on committees. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not on any committees. She's essentially powerless. I have as much power in Congress as she does. She has a platform, right, where she's able to say things on social media. Well, that makes her Hotep as powerful as she is in Congress. I mean, so there's like we can be critical of these people, but also you have to play the game, right? So there's this balance that everybody has to take. And I think, you know, just trying to find sanity outside of the matrix is like so key, man. Like, you know, come up with some hobbies, whether it's riding your bike, jogging, woodworking, like just do stuff that's not plugged in. And then I think you'll be, no matter what happens to you, you'll have something to fall back on and you'll be cool.
I like,
man, I want to talk about so many things with you guys. Wish we had more time. Any parting words, Hotep?
Let's go.finance. Get on the platform, stake your money on Hotep. Always bet on black.
There you go. Herman, I have an invitation for both of you, and I think our audience know what invitation that is. So I'm not going to do it on air. So stay here, guys, after I'm done recording. But Herman, thank you for being with us as well. Thank you, Hotep, for coming along.
Thank you for having me.
And pleasure to meet you. It really is. So guys, peace, love, anarchy. Yeah, let's stay humble. Thank you for the lessons today, Hotep. Appreciate it.
Definitely.
Thanks for your support, as always, man. Great.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Financial slavery is a bitch because it doesn't let you think. That's the whole point. Don't give you time to think. If you want to really learn philosophy, you need leisure. Leisure. Crypto is here to give you the leisure so you can think.